But there is one other big and helpful lesson from the cyber dimension to the war, and I'll signal this as the moment to start shining light on doom and gloom. All governments, including those of islands like Jersey, and all company boards, should note the way Ukraine has so far defended itself so effectively in cyberspace. I'm just going to list 5 primary components. Firstly, Ukraine treated cybersecurity at the level of a national risk, not merely as a technical issue to be left to technical people. Applying this to companies, I would argue that this is the equivalent of bridging the gap, even the language barrier, that often exists in companies between the level of Chief Information and Security Officer, CISO, and the board, recognizing that cybersecurity is mostly about people and processes, leadership, governance, risk management, and training, and doesn't have to get lost in the, albeit very real, technical complexities. Secondly, Ukraine treated cybersecurity as a team sport, reaching out to experts in partner governments and the private sector for help, with the mutual sharing of information, intelligence, and experience a sine qua non. Thirdly, Ukraine recognized the importance of assiduously implementing basic cybersecurity on its networks. Some call this cyber hygiene. This is not rocket science, and as the adage goes, prevents 95% of the malicious stuff coming your way. It is about being up to date with patching, using proper access controls like multi-factor authentication, having good password protocols, good network monitoring, engaging staff on the phishing threat, using third-party audits, and demanding to see evidence of such from your suppliers, a basic supply chain point, and the like. I could list the damage done by cyber attacks like SolarWinds, NotPetya, the North Korean use of WannaCry in 2017, and numerous ransomware attacks that would have been limited or even curtailed had basic cybersecurity measures been in place. Fourthly, Ukraine put in measures to cope with 5% of the attacks that might get through. It had good recovery plans and, crucially, has built resilience into how it stores critical data. If a country can think about which data matters most to it and then treat it in a different way from the rest, so can a company. Fifthly, and finally, Ukraine had years of practice from which it clearly learned, even if it involved learning the hard way. Governments and companies can, of course, choose to learn the easier way by making sure that a real ransomware attack, for example, is not the first time they test their people and processes in responding and recovering to a cyber crisis. Practice makes perfect, so exercise, test how you will deal with a major breach before it happens. Now, there is help to be found in the cybersecurity industrial sector on all 5 of the things I've outlined above. But it is undoubtedly a crowded and confusing marketplace. There are a lot of companies covering different bits and pieces of the cybersecurity jigsaw, often in confusingly different ways, which is why I think a company like Shearwater Group is so important, because it is a consolidator, bringing a range of companies together that cover the various people, process, and technical dimensions of the 5 things I've highlighted to create an excellent one-stop shop for cybersecurity support. It is why I'm pleased to sit on Shearwater's advisory panel. There are so many cyber questions that I haven't covered. What is responsible and democratic cyber power then? That's a very long answer. How does deterrence work in cyberspace really then? That's an even longer answer. What is the strategic solution for tackling cybercrime? Where does the insurance industry fit into all of this? Positively. That's to name but 4, but there isn't time. So in conclusion, all the warnings from governments about the risk of cyber spillover from the war all sound dramatic, with the US, for example, demanding a shields-up response. But the 5 things I've outlined above are what shields up really means. It is not easy, but it is eminently doable and practical, provided governments and boards are able to ask the right questions and have the right conversations. There is plenty of help out there, but a good place to start is to think, what did Ukraine do? Because it has so far been able to withstand a massive cyber bombardment from one of the world's most cyber-capable states, which in and of itself is highly instructive. Thank you. That's all I'm going to say.